Mitchell had 14 in the first half, inside to Boston. Boston, the spin and the finish.
Nothing you can do at that point. She's buried you so low. It's hard to get another defender there. You're outsized if you're a smaller Naz Hillman. That's just too easy for Boston.
10.6 boards for Boston. Gray in a crowd, 2 more. Gray coming alive.
And that
did it. That's the only thing I'm going to say is they fucking did it. The Indiana Fever spent this game looking like came into this game looking like a team that nobody feared and everybody was like, you know what? We're going to kill this team.
There may be nothing more dangerous in professional sports than a once-in-a-generation superstar playing with a chip on their shoulder. For days, criticism surrounded the Indiana Fever from every direction. National commentators, league insiders, and outspoken critics pushed one negative storyline after another. The team's biggest star was labeled difficult. She was portrayed as a distraction rather than the player carrying the franchise forward. The narrative was already written before tip-off. Many expected the Atlanta Dream to walk into Gainbridge Fieldhouse and expose a Fever team that, according to the critics, was spiraling toward disaster. The pressure couldn't have been higher. Doubts about the organization were growing louder by the day, and plenty of people seemed eager to prove that Indiana's struggles weren't caused by the system around the team, but by its young superstar herself. The expectation was clear. Another disappointing performance would confirm every negative headline and every harsh opinion that had dominated the conversation all week. But sports rarely follow the script that critics write. Instead of witnessing the final chapter of a collapsing season, fans watched something completely different unfold. What was supposed to be a breaking point became a turning point. What many expected to be a public downfall transformed into a powerful statement. Rather than a franchise falling apart, the basketball world witnessed a team fighting back, a star answering every doubt, and a season suddenly showing signs of new life. In place of the funeral that so many were anticipating, Indiana delivered a stunning revival that changed the entire conversation.
Drop, Reese blocked by Hall. Clark running. Dump off, Boston, yes! Oh, sidestep, Clark, sick!
Not make a field goal when Caitlin Clark was on the floor. Caitlin was guarding Ryan at times. Caitlin was being guarded by Ryan. And Ryan Howard just didn't even shoot the ball when Caitlin was on the floor. As soon as Caitlin comes out, Ryan hits 2 threes. But I gotta just talk first of all about the Dream, who were poor.
The Indiana Fever didn't merely recover from adversity, they made a statement. Indiana controlled the game from start to finish in an 83-71 win over the Atlanta Dream, turning a week of criticism into a night of redemption. The same team many people had written off walked onto the court, ignored every outside prediction, and tore apart the narrative that said their season was falling apart. At the center of it all was Caitlin Clark. She delivered the kind of performance that wasn't just productive but defiant. Tough possessions, smart reads, relentless effort. It was the type of game that directly contradicted every rumor questioning her leadership, focus, or commitment to the franchise. Instead of shrinking under pressure, she became the engine behind Indiana's response. This wasn't just one win. It felt like a reset. Veterans played with urgency, the energy level changed, and the team finally looked connected again. A season that appeared to be drifting suddenly had a pulse. Leading into the matchup, the conversation around Indiana had turned almost entirely negative. Analysts pointed to defensive breakdowns, inconsistent offense, and a supposedly exposed game plan under head coach Stephanie White. Opponents believed they had found the formula: pressure the ball, trap the pick and roll, and force the Fever into stagnant offense. The numbers and advanced metrics were used as proof that Indiana was headed for another collapse. But basketball games are decided on the court, not in prediction models. From the opening tip, the Fever played with a completely different edge. edge. The defensive intensity, a major target of criticism all week, became the foundation of the win. Indiana rotated sharply, contested everything, and made one of the league's more dangerous offenses look uncomfortable for long stretches. Atlanta finished just 6 of 21 from three-point range, and Indiana's pressure disrupted the rhythm of key scorers like Alicia Gray and Ryan Howard. Clean looks disappeared, driving lanes closed. The Dream never found the flow they expected. For one night at least, the Fever looked nothing like the team outsiders had been describing. They looked organized, connected, and emotionally locked in, and the biggest twist of all was this: the criticism that was supposed to expose their weakness may have ended up fueling their best performance of the season.
Clark quickly, a dime, Mitchell the lane! 7-0, Indiana run!
Energy, we see the urgency on both ends for this team tonight.
Clark has scored or assisted on 9 of Indiana's 11 points in the quarter, and Clark picked up a foul.
The Dream come out and take the lead in the third quarter. They go out and get the lead. I think it was like 43-42, and Kelsey Mitchell goes on a one-man show. A one-woman show, both ends of the floor. Which ended on her getting a steal.
One of the clearest signs of Indiana's defensive turnaround came in the way they handled Ryan Howard. During key stretches when Caitlin Clark was assigned to guard her, Howard struggled to generate any offensive success and was unable to convert a field goal. For months, critics had questioned Clark's effectiveness on the defensive end, often portraying her as a weakness opponents could target. But this game told a different story. The film showed Clark competing hard within Indiana's defensive system, helping limit the impact of one of the league's most dangerous perimeter scorers. Howard found very little room to operate during those possessions, and Indiana's defensive execution consistently disrupted her rhythm. It wasn't until defensive matchups shifted and Clark was no longer directly involved in the action that Howard was able to find a little breathing room and knock down a few shots from outside. For a player who has frequently faced criticism about her defense, it was another example of how effort, positioning, and team execution can change the entire conversation. On a night when the Fever needed a complete performance, Clark contributed on both ends of the floor and helped make life difficult for one of Atlanta's biggest offensive threats.
Over to Mitchell. Now it's Clark. Fires a three. No good. And it'll go out of bounds to Atlanta.
They love that action. It's really difficult because when Caitlin Clark comes off that pin down screen,
She hit a clutch as fuck 3-point shot. Maisha Hines Allen, the beast. She is a monster. She was bullying Angel Reese out there. And I've never seen it. I've seen Angel Reese bully Alyssa Thomas. I've watched Angel Reese have some of the strongest players in the league and basically just go.
If anyone was genuinely searching for evidence about Caitlin Clark's impact on her teammates, they only had to look at Kelsey Mitchell's explosive performance in the third quarter. The veteran guard has spent years carrying a heavy burden for the Indiana Fever, battling through difficult seasons and often operating in less than ideal offensive situations. Through it all, she remained one of the franchise's most dependable competitors. Against Atlanta, however, Mitchell looked completely energized. She wasn't just contributing, she was thriving. The offense flowed with confidence, the spacing created opportunities, and Mitchell was able to attack with a freedom that hadn't always been available in previous seasons. The performance served as a reminder of what happens when elite talent shares the floor with other elite players. Great players don't diminish those around them, they create opportunities for others to shine. And on this night, Mitchell took full advantage, delivering one of her most impactful stretches of basketball while helping power Indiana to a statement victory.
Inbound to Mitchell. Mitchell in the lane, step through, scoop shots!
Come on. She's been getting to that same.
But Caitlin Clark was throwing up at halftime. I don't know if she was sick. I don't know what was wrong with her, what was like if she was okay. And she goes and has the best defensive game
The game reached a turning point in the third quarter, with Indiana clinging to control and Atlanta briefly moving ahead 43-42. Kelsey Mitchell decided she wasn't going to let the moment slip away. What followed was one of the most electrifying stretches of basketball the Fever had produced all season. Mitchell caught fire and completely changed the flow of the game. Every possession seemed to run through her, and Atlanta had no answer. The sequence that defined the night came when she jumped a passing lane for a huge steal and raced up the floor in transition. Most players would have taken the uncontested layup or dropped the ball off to a teammate running alongside them. Mitchell chose a different path. She pulled up from beyond the arc and buried a transition three, delivering a shot that instantly swung the momentum back in Indiana's favor. It was the type of fearless play that energizes an entire arena while draining confidence from the opposition. By the final buzzer, Mitchell had posted an outstanding plus 14 rating, reflecting just how impactful her minutes were. Her third quarter takeover was so decisive that she didn't need to force the action in the fourth. The damage had already been done, and Indiana cruised the rest of the way to a comfortable win. While Mitchell deserved every bit of the spotlight for her scoring explosion, her success didn't happen in isolation. The Fever's offense thrived because the ball was moving, opportunities were being created, and teammates were willing to put winning ahead of individual numbers. Much of that foundation came from Caitlin Clark's playmaking and willingness to keep feeding the player with the hot hand. But while Indiana's guards were taking control offensively, another battle was unfolding closer to the basket. The most physical matchup of the night took place in the paint, where Myisha Hines-Allen brought toughness, energy, and relentless effort. Atlanta entered the game expecting to establish itself through physical play around the rim and on the glass. Instead, Hines-Allen met every challenge head-on. She battled for rebounds, contested possessions, and refused to give ground in the interior. Time after time, she provided the kind of grit that doesn't always show up in the headlines, but often determines who wins the game. Atlanta expected to dictate the physical tone. What they found instead was a Fever frontcourt led by Hines-Allen that was more than ready for the fight.
That she absolutely knows that for both of them to be there, things have to get better. And you could see the two of them immediately when Caitlin finally had that spell.
In professional basketball, it's uncommon to see a player known for toughness and physical play get pushed out of her comfort zone. That's exactly what Indiana accomplished in the paint. Myisha Hines-Allen brought a relentless edge from the opening tip, battling for position, absorbing contact, and refusing to give Atlanta any easy opportunities around the basket. Her presence gave the Fever a level of strength and resilience that had been missing at times earlier in the season. Time and again, Hines-Allen won key possessions through sheer effort and determination. She controlled crucial stretches, protected space inside, and helped Indiana establish the physical tone of the game. The Dream expected to dictate the battle in the front court, but instead they found themselves dealing with a Fever team that was more than willing to fight back. By the end of the night, Hines-Allen had emerged as one of the biggest difference makers on the floor. Yet the most remarkable part of Indiana's victory didn't become known until after the game. Reports revealed that Caitlin Clark had been dealing with physical discomfort during the contest and was far from feeling her best. Despite that, she never backed away from the challenge. Rather than letting circumstances become an excuse, she returned to the floor and continued competing at a high level when her team needed her most. What stood out wasn't just her offensive production, it was the complete effort she gave on both ends of the court. Clark consistently hustled back on defense, pushed the pace in transition, and remained fully engaged throughout the game. Every possession seemed to carry a sense of urgency. She played with energy, determination, and the type of competitive spirit that teammates naturally rally around. Critics will inevitably focus on the shooting numbers and point to her 6-for-1-7 performance from the field, but box scores rarely tell the entire story. Anyone who watched the game closely saw the broader impact she had. She created opportunities, manipulated defensive coverages, and generated quality looks for teammates throughout the night. Many of the Fever's best offensive possessions started with Clark forcing the defense to react to her presence. Her creativity as a playmaker repeatedly put Atlanta in difficult situations. She attacked gaps, created advantages off the dribble, and delivered timely passes that kept Indiana's offense flowing. Even possessions that didn't end with an assist often began with Clark making the correct read and putting pressure on the defense. And then there was the storyline that had dominated headlines leading into the game. For days, speculation surrounded Clark and head coach Stephanie White. Social media dissected every sideline interaction, every facial expression, and every post-game comment. Rumors spread rapidly, with many people eager to paint a picture of dysfunction inside the organization. The narrative suggested tension, division, and a team on the verge of unraveling. But winning has a way of changing the conversation. Instead of validating the criticism, Indiana responded with one of its most complete performances of the season. The focus shifted away from rumors and back to basketball. The Fever looked connected, committed, and united in pursuit of a common goal. Whatever stories were being written before tip-off suddenly carried a lot less weight after the final buzzer. Because when the pressure was highest, Indiana didn't fall apart, they delivered a statement. And at the center of that statement was Caitlin Clark, helping lead a performance that reminded everyone why the Fever remain one of the most closely watched teams in the league.